everyone. Welcome to the Stoa. Today we have fellow Torontonian Fiona Fairbairn. Fiona is a TikTok superstar, the host of the Bimbo Manifesto podcast and author of the viral Bimbo Manifesto, 10 Rules of Bimboism. And Bimboism is like absolutely my new favorite mimetic tribe right now. And I think it's brilliant and offers, I'll share my thoughts on it maybe in the Q&A portion, but how today's going to work, I'm going to tag in Fiona in a moment. She's going to share her thoughts, and she has a mini presentation on the 10 rules of Bimboism, and then we'll have a Q&A, an open discussion. I imagine I'll ask Fiona some questions first, but if you have any questions anytime, either raise your hand, you got the raise a hand icon, or put your question in the chat, and I'll call and you can ask your question to Fiona. And feel free to have your camera on. This won't be on YouTube. Only if you ask a question, you'll be on YouTube, because this will be posted on YouTube eventually. So that being said, Fiona, welcome to the Stoa.
Hi, thank you for having me. I was answering questions in the chat and I realized I was sending it to one person, so I'm so sorry instead of everyone. So sorry to Monse, truly Joe. I thought I was talking to everyone. But anyway, my name is Fiona or Fifi or G's Get Lonely Too on TikTok and Instagram. And I just created a little Bimbo manifesto, and it's just like kind of a way to just, be happy and release yourself of the shackles of self-awareness. And it sounds ridiculous. I know. I've seen the comments. I try not to look, but I have seen a few. But hopefully I could explain it in a certain way that you guys will understand and maybe see a new perspective. And I have a little bit of a slideshow, and yeah, is it good to show? Okay. Oh wait, I need to share my screen first.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Yeah, you have the option. You just go share screen with the.
Okay.
Screen.
Okay, is it good? Okay, Bimbo Manifesto. And just so you guys know, it is called the Bimbo Manifesto now, but I am planning to rebrand because I think people are getting a little turned off by the word bimbo, but hopefully you guys could just understand what I'm talking about and look over the word bimbo. Okay, so for those who haven't seen my video, this is kind of my general rules for Bimbofication 2022. I did edit a little bit from the original video, but I'll show you guys what's up. So rule number one is to stop fact checking when non-harmful. So Fiona, like, you can't just go around spreading propaganda. Yes, I know that, but when you were a child and you believed in Santa Claus and you believed in the tooth fairy and life was just so peaceful, like you knew that, and you didn't have to like fact check if it was right or wrong. You just said, yeah, like the tooth fairy is about to give me some money today and life's gonna be good. So that's what I mean with fact checking. If it doesn't bother anybody, then sometimes you don't have to do complete research. Okay, rule number two, and this is in relationships especially, stop looking through your partner's phone and stalking their social media, and even especially in the early stages of a relationship. I just feel like in relationships, when people are just so focused on being the ultimate spy in relationships and literally playing spy, it doesn't make you happy and you can't enjoy what's really going on in front of you in your relationship. I even argue that I don't even add the people I like on social media in the beginning stages of a relationship when we're on a relationship, because I just feel like it's a distraction of just enjoying the person in front of you. So yeah, I just don't look through phones. I don't add them on social media. I don't want to know. If the universe wants to tell me, then you just tell me. Rule number three, and this is where it gets into the bimboism. I focus on you and your looks all the time. I believe in look good, feel good. Look good, feel good. Really put, it doesn't even matter what your aesthetic is or your personal fashion. I feel like when you put that little work in every day in yourself of looking good and what makes you feel the most confident, I just feel like that's the best way to have that focus on you. And when you have that focus on you, I feel like you won't have time to think about the stupid little things in life if you could just focus on, the good things about yourself, and not being so hyper dependent and people pleasing on like everyone else around you. So focusing on you, focus on your looks, look good, feel good. Rule number 4, don't participate in discourse. This is something I do not do, and I haven't for a while. I am a university student, for those who don't know. And so there will be a time where, you do have to participate in discourse and things, but especially in these days on the internet, like there's so many people with just opinions and all sorts of jazz. And I just feel like, why is it your responsibility to play teacher for them when they could do the research themselves? And for me, it just takes a lot of energy out of me to participate in discourse, especially when people are determined and committed to just misunderstanding you and what you're talking about. Like, I just feel like if you have an opinion, like sometimes it's not your responsibility to play teacher. If they want to look it up and fact check and do all that, do that. But for me, it's just extra stress that I don't want to participate in. Rule number 5, IDK is the answer to everything. Fiona, how is I don't know the answer to everything? Sometimes I just don't want to answer the question. Sometimes I don't want to know the answer. Sometimes I don't want you to know the answer. And especially when it comes to personal life, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what's your relationship status? All those questions, I just don't know. Like, and so I don't know is my favorite sentence. I just feel like once you master the I don't know and just acting like you don't know what's going on, it's so much easier to not have to explain yourself all the time and just say, you know what, I just don't know. So IDK, answer to everything. Rule number 6 is stop watching news all the time. Okay, a lot of people didn't like this, but it's kind of funny because I did a interview with the Canadian press. And when I was talking to the Canadian press, they said that the people working at the Canadian press told their own workers to not look at the news, and they're literally a news outlet. Personally, putting on CP24, if you are from Toronto, every single day and just watching it go repeat, like constantly berating you, especially in the times with COVID, and that's all they talk about is COVID. Sometimes I just don't want to hear about it. And I feel like that just really sets me off in the wrong way. There are important things that people should know about that's going on in the world, but I just don't think it's a daily thing that you need to be constantly reminded of the evil things in the world. Sometimes it's just peaceful to just have a clear mind and just not know. Okay, rule number 7, cut the hyper awareness of yourself and others. People do not really care about you that much. I know that sounds mean, but you go into a room and you're thinking, oh, am I walking a weird way? Do I look a certain way? Are they staring at me? I wonder if they're having a good time. I wonder if they like me. No, it shouldn't matter if people like you. You should care if you like the person. If you're enjoying yourself, why are you going somewhere and being like, oh my God, this person's not enjoying themselves, like, so I can't enjoy myself? No. Like, if they want to be miserable and mad and not in a good mood, like, that's not your responsibility. That's not your responsibility. It's only your responsibility to be happy yourself and to go into a room and just not have a deep analysis of what your body language is and what other people's body language is. It's not necessary all the time. Sometimes you could just be you without thinking of your childhood traumas like 24/7. It's okay to just be you. And last but not least, head empty, no thoughts, just vibes. Again, You don't need a critical thought process all the time. You don't need to be a philosopher. I just like to have a spotless, clean mind. A lot of times, I like to have my mind clean and organized. And sometimes that is just having no thoughts at all. Especially things can get really overwhelming. And I feel like a lot of times what people happen is your mind is a snow globe. And when you think so much all the time and you're overthinking, your mind, the glitter in the snow is going everywhere. You can't think straight. You can't make a decision. When you just sit down for once and let your mind calm down, let all the snowflakes go to the bottom, then you can make clear decisions. Then you could, think clearly. So that's what I mean by having head empty. Okay, that's my rules. Next slide. Blank white wall. If you're wondering what's going on in my mind, this is what's going on in my mind. And basically the blank white wall technique is something I introduced, and this is something I've actually been doing for years. And it's whenever, like sometimes you're just caught up in your mind. You're just filled with overwhelming thoughts. And sometimes your mind just doesn't know when to shut up. Like it wants to think of all the possibilities. It wants to overthink when it's not that serious a lot of times. Sometimes I literally just stop myself and I think of a blank white wall. And if it's hard for you to think of a blank white wall, think of the sky, think of the ocean, and just let yourself sit in that calmness, that cleanness, that emptiness, and just let yourself be quiet. Just say, okay, you know what, mind? I need a moment of peace and quiet. And right now you are just overwhelming me. So I'm going to tune you out. I'm going to think of a blank white wall and be at peace. And it especially helps at night, your mind is overflowing, you're just thinking. It really helps me when I'm having overwhelming thoughts. So if you're wondering what my mind looks like, it's this blank white wall. And this is actually a quote from my PhD in meology. It's my second podcast episode. I will make a third episode very soon, but my Givenchy bag is not a YSL bag. Okay, thank you, Fiona. What the hell does that mean? Like, thanks. I'll tell you what it means. I'm going down the street. I'm carrying my Givenchy bag. Someone comes up to me and say, hey, that's not a Givenchy bag. Like, that's a YSL bag. That's a YSL bag. Am I going to start screaming in the mall and throwing a temper tantrum because they said my Givenchy bag is a YSL bag? No, because there's no point of arguing with it. So like, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, they can't get rid of the logo on the Givenchy bag. They can't get rid of it. It's still going to be Givenchy bag. It's not going to be YSL bag. Fiona, where are you going with this? That's how you should treat insults about yourself. And when you're sure about yourself, when people throw insults at you, it's ridiculous. It's almost laughable to go out of your way to try to convince people that you're not those things. So, I find it hard to be insulted because when you have a PhD in meology and you treat all these things as facts, okay, like I'm smart, I'm pretty, I'm a good person. Someone comes up to me and say, yeah, like actually you're ugly and you're dumb and you're a horrible person and you're going straight to the fiery depths. I just say, you know what? Okay. Like there's no point of trying to convince them, because trying to convince people of that is almost like part of you thinks it is true. It's almost like you think that there's some truth to it, but it doesn't have to be that way. To just say, you know what? Okay, if that's what you think of me, then that's it. And I actually got this from a book called Whole Again. I do not know the author, but she used a llama perspective. So if someone came up to you and said, you are a llama, by the way, you wouldn't start arguing about it and care so much about it. You just say, like, I'm not a llama, like I'm a person, like that's ridiculous. And that's literally how you should treat insults about yourself. You should have a set identity, and there's nothing someone could say that will ever change that. and there's no point of getting flustered over it and repeating over your head and looking yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not ugly, I'm not beautiful. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. So there's no point of even having a conversation over it. And I actually did not make any other slides, but I just, I also do not believe in doing stuff that stressed me out. So I just made this very minimal, but I am open to answering questions. And this is just a little insight of what I talk about in my podcast, what I talk about in my videos. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my little presentation.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone give Fiona a round of applause. Well done, Fiona. Quite like that presentation. So I'm going to ask Fiona some questions. And so anyone has questions anytime, just raise your hand, the right hand icon, or put it in the chat, and I'll call on you. You can ask your question. Yeah, one thing that's the first thing that's coming up is, I think I read in one of the articles that this was partly inspired by a narcissistic relationship that you were in. And, I read a lot about narcissistic abuse. And then when you kind of like understand it, you see it all over the place, all over the fucking internet. And it feels like this bimboism that you created is sort of like protection from that. So I'm curious if you can unpack like the personal experience that you had that led to this, and anything else I said spark something for you.
Well, yeah, you know what? I was in a very, very horrible narcissistic relationship. I'm 19 and he was 15 years older than me. So he's 34. And not saying, there's no such thing as victim blaming. There is such thing as victim blaming, like not blaming myself in this situation. But I think it's also because I was coming from a place of insecurity where I didn't know myself. And so I let this person, tell me about myself, and I let it happen way too early, and I was convinced so long. And so I think when it comes to those insults, there's a common practice of narcissistic relationships where you start gray rocking. And so when you gray rock, you literally just say, okay, I don't know, what do you mean? And it's literally just stopping it because it doesn't entertain them. And when you're sure about yourself and you're sure about, just treating everything as facts, like, okay, I am pretty, like I am a good person, because if I wasn't all these things, why would you be with me in the first place? And so it was just ridiculous that I even let those insults get to me in the first place. But now, if I knew what I knew now and treated all the good things as facts, and I knew that, like, how was I going to tell someone that knew me for a portion of my life? I've been spending 24 hours a day with myself for the last 19 years. So how is he going to tell me more about me? I literally have a PhD in myself. Like, I'm my own biggest fan. So if I was who I was today, I don't think I'd be able to get into a toxic relationship like that, or a toxic friendship. And it's just a way to gain your confidence and gray rock and, get out of that narcissistic relationship and friendships.
Yeah, I like that. It's almost like the abuse is to get you not to trust yourself, essentially. And I love this term, shackles of self-awareness. I wonder if you could just almost how does that feel, like being in the shackles of self-awareness, maybe your past self or other people that you see, and what does it feel like? Maybe you kind of described it already, but what's the opposite feel like?
It's just being free and just being you, like not always constantly thinking about yourself, okay, oh my god, I'm walking weird, and this person is looking at me a weird way, and I'm talking weird. Just instead of defining yourself so much, just letting yourself be you. And it really, really is freeing once you release yourself of the self-awareness of just not being embarrassed, just letting you be you and be free. And there's nothing more you could do. What more do you want me to do? I'm me, and that's it.
And I imagine how this piece went viral, and then I haven't read the comments, but your gesture towards people sending you nasty comments and stuff, and it seems like the perfect opportunity for you to practice your bimboism in real time with all these people attacking your bimboism. And so maybe you can kind of, I'm curious how like what kind of comments were given at you, and then like how did you deal with them to perhaps make you stronger and a better bimbo?
Well, I really just like, I don't actually read comments. Um, there's just like a few ones I like accidentally get, but it just can't really get to me because I'm just not aware of it. And I don't know, the insults are just so low because a lot of the insults and hate comments aren't even about my content. It's just like about my looks or something. And I'm like, okay, like it literally proves my point. Like I'm letting people underestimate me because they hear my voice or like they see how I look like and they just like want to be rude. But it just can't phase me enough because what does that have to do with anything I'm talking about? So I really don't read comments. And when I do, I really just don't respond. Someone usually says something anyway, but I don't know. I can't be phased by it.
And perhaps my last question is on the vibes, because you know when you get like an insulting comment on the internet in person, it's like there's a certain vibe to it. It's like a low frequency vibe, and it's like, oh, I can't, like, just brings you down, and then you can feel when someone's coming from like a good vibe. But when you're like in your head so much thinking about things, it's like you kind of lose access to like the vibe realm. At least that's how I understand it. So I'm curious. How engaging in bimboism in the way you're doing it really allows you to be more sophisticated with this language of vibes.
Like to feel people's vibes.
Yeah, and then kind of like just just yeah, feel your own vibes, speak other people's vibes, just live through the vibes. Like, how does your bimboism, you think, just allow that to occur?
Um, well, I think when you just kind of be you and like keep with your own frequency, I made a video of like not matching energy. If that's kind of what you mean. It's basically just like keeping your own energy. I never seen the point of fighting fire with fire, or like if someone wants to be low energy and suck, then like what does that have to do with me? You know what I mean? Like that seems like a personal issue, and like there's nothing I could do about it. So I see it as that, like if you want to be in a bad mood, if you want to be miserable, if you want to be low energy, I'm not gonna stoop down to you. You know, I'm gonna be up here. I don't believe in matching energy, and I don't believe in fighting fire with fire. If you want to do that, then go ahead. But that's way too much energy, to be honest. Like I could be going to Starbucks or something by the time I, do that. So I won't be doing that.
I like matching energy phrase. And like what is the opposite of matching energy? Just sort of like ignoring and then finding people whose energy you want to like vibe with.
Yeah, like if you don't like example, like if someone's not putting in the effort, what good does it do is going down and not and just saying, okay, I'm not going to do the effort either. That's just like when kids are like, well, he pushed me first, so like seriously, you don't have to do all that. You could just find someone else that will put in the energy, put in your same energy. There's no point of lowering your vibe. Like that's literally pleasing them. Like that's living for them when you could just live for you and find someone that will match you and meet you up here. Like I'm not going to come down here. You could meet me up here or I could go.
And like in the chat, like I imagine you invited a lot of people. Everyone's giving you positive vibes. So I'm guessing the more you come from this high vibrational place, you're attracting more people in your life that are high vibrational as well. Is that true?
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I just feel like when you're just like in a good vibe, like everything good happens. People are just like genuinely nicer to me. Like when you just like kind of have a good vibe. Like I went to Starbucks the other day and I got like two venti drinks for free and I was so excited. We look I was so excited and I just feel like it's my vibes that like do all these good things for me. So I feel like when your vibe is good, people treat you better, people are nicer to you, good people come into your life. People are more prone to like help you when you're in need too. So yeah, I just think it's the best.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, so if anyone has any questions or just if you just want to share anything, just share some love or share some high vibrational vibes with Fiona, feel free to put your hand and share your thoughts. Claudia, you had your hand up earlier. I don't know if you wanted to, still had something to share.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask if Fiona's going to be paid for this.
I wonder if Fiona planted that person, but no, we don't usually pay people here, but maybe something will change after the session. Kevin, you had a question.
Hey Fiona, how you doing? There's some good comments on there. It seems like your audience is mostly young women. I'm wondering if there's like, is there a male equivalent to the Bimbo movement? What do you think about the word Himboism? Could you, for like, I'm 31. Like, what is a himbo, and how, like, what are the parallels between Bimboism, Himboism, Bimboism, all these kind of things? Could you lay it out for us?
There are himbos. I made videos on himbos, and I keep getting threatened to get banned on TikTok, so I don't make any more videos. I don't know if they're like himbophobic or something, but they're himbophobic. But honestly, guys, a lot of my behavior is just male behavior, and I don't want to stir the pot, but I don't know, a lot of guys do the behavior without even knowing that they're doing it. But yeah, there are, what I'm saying, like, obviously, because I seem really girly and stuff, doesn't mean like you can't take it. Like, how is it feminine to just say, okay, like, I'm not going to be insulted by your insults because I know who I am? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing like feminine or masculine about that. Like, just do everything you do. A lot of people do ask me for like dating advice and stuff, so I guess it's a little different, but most of my stuff is like for himbos, everyone else too, so it really doesn't make a difference. And some of my stuff, like, guys been doing for like so long. Like, I feel like guys don't really care as much for girls, so that's what I see about that. There's always been himbos. I just get banned from saying it each time I make a video on it, so I don't know what that's about.
Why do you think they ban you? That's weird.
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. They just say if you talk about himbos one more time, you're getting the boot. So I'm like, okay, damn, I'll just not make any more videos.
It's a weird thing to ban people over, but thanks for your answer.
Thanks, Kevin. One of my favorite himbos at the stoa. All right, so Hannah, did you have a share question? No? All right. Oh, maybe I'll read it. Yeah, I'll read it for her. That's what she asked for. How to bimbo when experiencing anxiety, or maybe like a panic attack or something like that. I think that's the question.
Well, that's kind of why I said the blank white wall technique of just like having an empty mind and thinking of a blank white wall when things are getting too overwhelming and anxious. Because it really is about just like staying in the moment and not thinking too much. Because again, not everything really needs a deep like analysis. And again, like when you're anxious and stuff, your mind is like the sparkly snow globe and things are everywhere. But you just kind of have to have the mindset that like, okay, obviously it's hard with anxiety because like obviously people have like actual anxiety and it's something that's put into practice. But I just let my mind, calm down before I make a decision. And I just think of the blank white wall and keep my mind clean just for the moment because it's really overwhelming. And yeah, and for the second, I just want to answer the second part of the question. That's where I wanted to change bimbo, because it has nothing to do with kink or SW. I'm not like associated with that. But yeah, that's the kind of one I changed bimbo, but that's what I'm not what I mean by bimbo. It's not a kink thing.
Thank you, Hannah. Zion, you had a question about narcissistic relationship and self-worth. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? I think it's Zion.
Hi, Fiona. So my question is, how do you build your self-worth after a narcissistic relationship? Like after you kind of don't know who you are anymore and you start believing like everything that person told you? What's your advice on that?
Well, after mine, I just did for a little bit, I just did a lots of research on narcissistic like relationships and realized that like there's just like a pattern of things. And you also have to realize that like nothing you do, like there's nothing you could have done to save them. When it comes to narcissists, like they have something empty in them and they always find someone new and they're like, yeah, this is the person that's going to fulfill my void and this is the person that's going to like do it for me. And then they slowly realize after the love bombing, like, okay, like the void isn't filled. And then they get mad at the other person for not filling their void. And it could be something so small, but it really just isn't your fault. And so when you do that research, and stay no contact, stay oblivious to what they're doing because it really has nothing to do with you, then and realize that like what they do has nothing to do with you. They have a void in them and that's all you could do about it.
Any follow-up question to share or the heart satisfied? Cool. Irina, you had your hand up. And we're not going to any order, by the way,
Yes.
random.
Hi. Hi, Fiona. Hi, everyone. My question is, because you mentioned before all your methods of the white wall and stuff like that. So my question is, if you're a student or you have a full-time job, how do you manage to like kind of shut up your brain at the right time? Because I'm struggling with that. Like I'm trying not to take things too seriously, but then when it comes to things like job, school, responsibilities, I guess where do you find the balance? Because these are the things that stress me out. Can you apply those methods aside of like relationship things? Can you apply them to things that actually stress you out, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. Well, I am a full-time university student. And people get shocked because I have never been stressed about school. Like I just like I can't like I think I just like dumbify it down instead of thinking like, oh my God, I'm just literally just say like, be really direct in what you have to do in terms of stuff. And honestly, I avoid talking about school outside of school. I really don't like talking about it. I don't like talking about my grades. I don't like to talk about what I have to do because I just feel like it adds like even more stress when it's just not necessary. And that kind of adds to like the bimbo because like, you know, I've never talked about my school or like what my grades are because it just stresses me out if I talk about it too much. And honestly, you know, I just take it one step at a time. I take it slowly. But that's for school. I just try not to talk about it too much, honestly. I know that sounds like kind of basic. It's not really bimboism, but yeah. And I focus on like me like all the time, like when it comes to that stuff. So like it's always a priority for school and stuff. But you know, I make sure that in my week it's school, then I do something else for myself. School, doing some of this other stuff. Like today I had a class and I said, okay, I'm getting my lashes done. And that was my day. Like, what else do you want me to do? You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. I just don't get stressed about school because I just don't really talk about it with people. It just stresses me out. There's no need.
Thank you.
Bruno, you had your hand up.
Hi, should I turn on my camera or should I keep it off?
It's up to you.
What do you think? Okay, I'm going to turn on so it's like more personal or something. I just wanted to say hello. I'm from Brazil, so it's very nice to be here talking to you. It's very nice to talk to you, Fifi. And I wanted to ask you, like, how do you feel like a bimbo or a himbo or whatever should or could behave on social media? Because I know you don't post much. I've seen your Instagram. I followed you for a while. I've actually DM'd you there, but I imagine a lot of people have, but it's fine. So how do you feel? Like, should we keep it? I'm putting myself as an animal. Should we like avoid posting much? Should we protect our energies? Should we stay closer to friends? How do you feel about that?
When it comes to my Instagram, I post if I'm pretty, so my story, I don't know, like when it comes to my Instagram, I'm just like very like, okay, I'm gonna post a few pictures, but I don't think there's really a direct way. But it all about, again, is about focusing on you. So if you're constantly posting and stuff and constantly looking at your stories and deleting posts because they didn't get enough likes, like it shouldn't matter. Like if you think you look super hot in a post and you didn't get as many likes, like who cares? Like if you think you look good, like keep it up. And so there's no set rules. Just like, again, you shouldn't worry so much about, oh, like I didn't get enough views on this, I didn't get much likes, I didn't get enough comments. Like it just really didn't matter. There's no set on like posting stuff. Just do whatever. If you think you look good, post it. If it makes you feel good, post it. You know what I mean? So that's what I have to say about that.
And is it okay if I ask you another question? I don't know if there's people. Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. I've left a relationship. It wasn't my choice, actually. They broke up with me, but I know, like, if I look back, I know that it was good to me. And actually, watching your TikToks and following you on social media has helped me because of that. But it was a very toxic relationship. And you know that feeling, like I imagine when you break up with someone who's very toxic to you, it might feel very, I don't know, people should be proud for leaving relationships, but sometimes it's not up to us, like it wasn't our option. And I sometimes feel like I failed that, you know, like I failed myself because I should have left it before I got kicked off it, you know? So how do you feel about that? Did you understand? I don't know if I was clear
Yeah, well,
in
like
what I expressed.
relationships are hard, like especially leaving them and stuff. But like who, like how I see that is instead of focusing on them, like why can't you say like, okay, like I did everything I could to make this relationship work, and there's nothing I could do. So there's no point of regretting. You could leave the relationship and said, okay, like I was a great partner, like even though they left, like I felt like I could do everything. And sometimes if you want like a positive impact, like sometimes you could just say, you know what, like maybe this space is necessary for us and maybe we could try it again another time. But right now, this is completely necessary because, you know, whatever. But you definitely need time to think about the relationship before you like you want to get back together or get into another one. So yeah.
Yes, okay. So thank you very much, Fifi and Peter.
Thank you, Bruno. I think Yanda, I think that's yeah, you're next.
Hello, sorry, it's Yandy. Hi Fiona, thank you so much for doing this. I guess my question is, how do you maintain perspective when you get disappointed, and not just in terms of like relationships? Sometimes it's jobs, sometimes it's kind of friendship breakdown. I think I personally find it really difficult to kind of come out of that space. And how do you kind of maintain bimbo energy in that scenario? Thank you.
Well, when I get disappointed and stuff, I just know like there's really nothing in my power that I could have done. You know, it's just I just see as kind of like the universe taking its course. And you know, I never let myself get upset over something like over a day, and I just like let myself feel the emotion. Like I literally say in my head, I'm like, okay, like I feel tight in my throat, like I just feel like off. And you just have to kind of just let it pass. But again, like if there's nothing you could do about it, then you just have to kind of learn to accept and go through the stages of grief and stuff. Again, like it's not necessarily bimboism what I'm talking about, but again, it's just like there's nothing you could do about it. And you just have to let your emotions, feel your emotions and let it go.
Any follow-up share or question?
No, nothing else from me. Thank you. This was really helpful.
All right, well, maybe we'll sneak in a couple more questions. Claudia, you got another question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so I don't actually know Fiona, but I've been an avid follower of, you know, of her, you know, mentality, her mindset, this whole era I believe she's creating, and I feel kind of guilty because, you know, she makes amazing content and she's providing you with content. So I want to know if Fiona has a Cash App or something that we can, you know, support her and her bimbo lifestyle because she deserves it. You know, high vibrations get high vibrations, and I just want her to get what she deserves. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyways, yeah. Drop that cash up, Beefy.
I'm not opposed to it, but I have a PayPal if someone's feeling generous. My birthday's in May. I know it's a little early, but if you guys want to give an early birthday gift, I don't know my PayPal. Like, I didn't know if you were gonna pay. It's Fiona Fairbairn. If you guys want to PayPal me.
I don't know how to spell.
Oh yeah.
And if you put in the chat, Fiona, I'll also include it on the video description when I upload it, your PayPal. So anyone would like to give a gift to Fiona, especially for her birthday, feel free to donate. Maria, you had a question about being offensive and being a bimbo. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi. I didn't know if questions were. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if the chat was being read, like if we were submitting questions. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I saw some of the comments. I think I'm a bimbo myself. But I just wanted to ask that, like, is it kind of like, are we doing a disservice? I don't know. I feel like it might be like a common question, or like maybe it's a dumb question to ask. I don't know. I feel like I'm like caught in like a super hypocritical, like maybe not hypocritical, but like a paradox, like feeling like a bimbo and then asking. I don't know. I'm having a moment.
Okay. It was just funny because like someone put a comment in my thing and they're like, oh, like you're setting back feminism 50 years and like I bet you have like daddy issues. I was like, okay, like I literally just said to love yourself. I don't know what that has to do with setting back feminism or whatever, but
yeah,
I don't like another reason why I wanted to rename it from bimbo is because people are getting confused. And obviously, if you look up bimbo TikTok and stuff, or even look up Bimbofication, like it's very different from what I'm posting. But I really like, I'm not saying to like, like I don't think I'm doing anything
no, I don't
offensive.
think
I'm
you
just
are
saying
either.
like, so it's just like confusing. That's like kind of why I want to rebrand it, because I feel like people are thinking of bimbo and just like getting confused. Like I'm still a university student, like I still do stuff. I just like, it's just like kind of weird. So I don't think it's like what I'm teaching isn't offensive, but whatever. I see what people could be offended by.
Yeah, it's actually brilliant because I think it's a defense mechanism for people who have been through traumatic things. So coming from that, I think there's actually a brilliant, and that's why I'm really like, it's really cool to see us on the STOA, because there's like a philosophy aspect to this. So I just really thank you for being on and sharing.
Of course. Thanks.
I have a suspicion that you might know a little bit more philosophy than you're leading on, Fiona. In the some of the principles have a Buddhistic and maybe reference Socrates and stuff like that. So happy if this is an I don't know question, but is there any philosophical influences that you had that helped shape this manifesto?
Yes, but I do. You are laughing at me. I do. I don't like to admit it because I don't know, when I have this like girly behavior, people ask me to explain too much when I like say my influences, and like I just like so much work because I just don't, but I do. Like obviously it's like, living in the moment, Buddhism, and just like basically like mindfulness. Like it's really not anything that revolutionary, but I don't know. So there is like some influences. That's again, I also called it bimbuality, like bimbo spirituality. But yeah, my first episode of my podcast is like Aristotle but hotter. So because that's basically what I am. Yeah.
Right. So my friend Claudia has another question. Claudia, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to ask, like, how can people that are brown and black specifically, pretend, like, you know what I'm saying, like, be involved in this, because most of the times we have to um, overexert ourselves and prove ourselves constantly to be somewhere worthy of a job or to be in school. How could we, how can we be a bimbo when we have to constantly prove ourselves? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I am black. I know I'm like a little pale, but like I am black. A lot of people like fight me in my comments. I'm like, okay, I don't know how you're gonna tell me, but thanks. And in terms of that, like again, like I never saw it as like a race thing at all. Because it really is just like when it comes to that, I know like people feel the need that like you have to prove yourself and stuff. But what I'm saying with that is just like there's no point of arguing with people because people are just committed to misunderstanding you. And even if you lay out all the facts and tell them like they just don't care. Like I just say like at the end result, like people will see what's up. People are gonna know what's up. And there's no point of like screaming and crying and sliding down the wall if someone like wants to insult you. And so, I don't think it has to do with like a race thing. It's never been a race thing. But yeah, I see like what people mean by that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Someone, Ray Hana, I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong. You had your hand up and you had some questions in the chat.
So I put it in the chat, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, she didn't see it. But I wanted to know, how would you apply this as like a mom? I have a 2-year-old, for the most part, she's a good kid, but you know how two-year-olds get, she's really wild sometimes. She can stress me out sometimes. And then I'm only 20, so I do be having a lot of things going on myself and worried about what I'm going to do in life and whatnot. I want to know, how can I apply this as a mom and be, less stressed all the time?
Well, I'm not a mom, so I like couldn't really like give like solid advice, but like I could say like like put again that energy, some energy into yourself. Like don't forget, like don't ever forget to like keep that in your schedule and make it like a mandatory thing. Whether you need to bring if it's available, like bringing your kid to like a babysitter or something. But I don't know, I'm definitely not a mom, so I can't give that type of advice. But for everything with the busy schedule, it's always to like use your self-care and self-opportunities or your self-care literally as like essential. Like whatever people say, like Fiona, like you don't have real responsibilities, like you don't even have a job. My eyelashes and my nails are real responsibilities to me.
I don't mean off, but I'll definitely say I like that what you just said, because I'll definitely take way more care of her and leave my hair a mess, don't get my nails done, and then as soon as I get it done, I feel so good. My day is better, my whole week is better. And I feel like the more I keep up with my personal look, I feel better about just everything. So I would say that from this session, I would take that I have to just keep up with it, don't slack.
Yeah, exactly. Just add it like as an essential and treat it as like a responsibility. So yeah. Any other cue?
So maybe I'll gently close and I'll ask a few questions to close. So what does 2022 have in store for Fiona?
2022. I don't know. I actually have no idea what's in store for me. I'm going on a trip this weekend. I don't know. It's really just about, well, it's always been a Fiona year. Like it's always been a Peter year for you, and it should be for everyone else. It's just gonna continue what I'm doing, and I don't know. I don't really have like what's in store. Hopefully I could do more with my platform. Hopefully I could kind of rebrand the Bimbofication and people will catch on to it. But yeah, that's pretty much what's in store for me.
And what do you think is in store for like the movement of Bimboism, and how are you and your podcast and going to play a role in that?
Well, I definitely have not been consistent with my podcast, but I will release a new episode hopefully. And in terms of everything else, like hopefully more and more people understand what I'm talking about. Instead of just like thinking I'm like, I don't know what they're thinking. It takes too much. I don't know. Hopefully they just take the time to maybe understand what I'm talking about and actually take my advice and realize what I'm saying isn't that like controversial. They're just like looking at my face and hearing the way I talk and like seeing what I wear and think that like I'm just like this bubbly little Dumbo, but I'm not, or I don't really care if they think so or not. But yeah, hopefully they just more people understand.
Cool. And maybe we could do a brief exercise to close. We have about 50 people in this room right now, so we can source the collective intelligence. What is one thing that you would like to know, Fiona, like about anything really, that we can ask people, and they could like, could be simple as like how you're feeling right now, and they can just put a word, one emotion, or it could be something else. So what's one thing you'd like to know from the people in the room right now?
What would I like to know? That's actually a really good question. Like, how could you apply what I'm talking about into your life right now? Whether you think you're a bimbo or not, like what is one way you can? And just like, you could just do like a short answer.
Cool. So everyone take a moment. And how can you apply Bimboism or Himboism to your life? And we'll just take a moment to see that. So, Fiona, is there any song that you would like to play while we that has positive vibes that we can prime the room?
Do I? I was playing Honey by Mariah Carey. Do you like that song?
Okay, probably. I'll play that. Yeah, the song is pretty good. Yeah, we'll close out here. Fiona, if you want to save the chat, you can do that with those three little dots, or I can send it to you afterwards, so you can have that for your record. And yeah, any parting words you'd like to leave people with before we close, where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much G's Get Lonely 2 on all platforms. I have Twitter, I have Instagram, I of course have TikTok. And yeah, don't forget to be hot always, literally no matter what, and watch how much better your life becomes.
Amen to that. So I'll make some closing announcement in a moment, but Fiona, thank you so much for coming to the STOA today. That was great fun. Hope to have you back. And if you would like to check out, this is your first time at the STOA, you can go to thestoa.ca to check out upcoming events. We got one next week, the non-naive trust dance with Malcolm Ocean. He has its technique to how to build trust, intimate relationships with people we appreciate their vibes. So you can check that out at thestoa.ca.